I'm the chair of the Trades Council, and I think it's quite important that you know that the Hastings and District Trade Union Council supports all the activities, including this one, over the war in Gaza. We had a long debate when the war kicked off, and we've got a very clear position of total solidarity with the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine. We oppose the Israeli settler state, and we oppose the way that the Western governments, including our own UK government, are supporting Israel's genocidal attack on Gaza. And the scale of it, I think, is worth just reminding ourselves. The Financial Times last week carried a story in which they compared the destruction of Gaza to the destruction carried out during the Second World War in the carpet bombings of the German cities of Dresden and Cologne. And the scale of the destruction is of the same scale, and it's taken place in 7 weeks. The scale of the deaths, especially of children, is unprecedented in modern warfare. The level of displacement is unprecedented in modern warfare. The Israeli attack on Gaza is going to go down in history. We are witnessing one of the great war crimes of the modern age. It's an absolute shame, not only that our government, the American government, most of the Western governments have opposed a call for a ceasefire. Some of them are now talking about it, but they still vote against a ceasefire of the United Nations and other bodies. But also the fact that the Labour Party and Keir Starmer have gone along with the position of the government. They've given a green light to the Israeli attack on Gaza. It's absolutely essential that our unions, our organisations, the Labour Party, whoever else, actually stands up and says no, because we can change the narrative then. But if they just go along with it, they're giving it a green light. And it's an absolute scandal, and we should never let them forget that. I think I want to say one other thing. We discussed this at the Trades Council. I think quite important that the war on Gaza that's taking place now is essentially a second Nakba, a second catastrophe in which the Palestinians are being driven off their land in a deliberate policy by the Israelis. This has been going on for 75 years. The first Nakba was in 1948, when 800,000 people were driven off their land in a very similar process to what we're seeing now, except now we can watch it live on TV on Al Jazeera. And I think we have to say that this is 75 years of oppression, 75 years of an apartheid state, 75 years of military occupation, and 75 years of Palestinian resistance. And the resistance of the Palestinians in Gaza today, what's been happening over the last few weeks, is in a long tradition of fighting for the rights of the Palestinian people to have their own homeland. So we from the Trades Council refuse to condemn Hamas in their fight back against the Israelis. We believe the oppressed have a right to fight back, and have been fighting back for 75 years and will continue to fight back. And one final point. This war has been going on now for 8 weeks, is it, or 9 weeks? 10 weeks. 10 weeks of absolute carnage against one of the most heavily sophisticated armies in the world. And it's quite amazing to me that despite the level of bombardment, despite the massive attack on the Palestinians in Gaza, and by the way on the West Bank is also cranking up, Palestinians are still resisting, and the Israeli army are not getting their own way. And I think the longer that the resistance can hang out in Gaza, the more difficult it becomes for the Israelis. It becomes more and more difficult for the Americans. It becomes more and more difficult for the UK just to stand by the Israeli army and just support them on whatever they do. So we have to build a movement, hold our rulers to account, and I think we have to stand in solidarity with the resistance in Palestine, on the West Bank, in the main cities of Nablus and others in Israel and in Gaza, fighting back against Israeli occupation and Israeli military oppression. Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine!